I'm Abian Gomezulu, the CEO and President of Mintek. Mintek was established in 1934 as a Research and Development Science Council, reporting to the Department of Mineral Resources. The main function of Mintek is value addition or beneficiation, as we call it. But of critical importance today, it's for all our visitors to be aware that we would like to see them arriving at Mintek and leaving Mintek as safely as possible. Hence, we're asking them to watch the following video in detail so that if they arrive with their 10 fingers, they'll always leave Mintek with their 10 fingers. Thank you very much.
The following health and safety video will instruct you on how to conduct yourself in a work environment that could be hazardous. This video will cover necessary safe work practices, emergency procedures, security measures, health-related procedures, and toxic waste management procedures. Please take careful note of all the information provided in this video. Note that the best precaution to take against risks is to know your work process and work environment very well. At the end of this video, you will be required to sign a declaration to confirm that you understood its contents, as well as the standard rules of contractors on-site form. All persons wishing to enter the Mintek premises will need to adhere to the following access control specifications. Supply the following information: your name, surname, address, and contact number, your ID. You will need to comply to the following procedures. Declare the contents of any vehicle, suitcase, bag, folder, or envelope in your possession, and be willing to submit them to be electronically scanned and examined. Hand in any items declared unfit to enter the premises to the custody of the security officer. Such items could be retrieved upon leaving. All firearms must be declared and handed in to the security. All vehicles leaving the Mintek premises will be subjected to a search. All contractors entering the Mintek premises must have a valid ID or certified copy of it on their person. When a contracting company arrives at Mintek to perform work, security will check the contractor database to verify that the necessary documents have been submitted. These documents include a letter of good standing, ensuring that the contractors will be covered by insurance should injuries occur, a letter of appointment for person responsible for OHS Act compliance. This letter assigns to a contractor the responsibility of overseeing that all contractors comply with the requirements of the OHS Act while work is performed on the Mintek premises. Inductions for contractors are valid for 12 months, after which they must undergo induction again. Security will check to verify if contractors have been inducted and whether the induction is still valid. In the event of a contractor bringing tools into the premises, these will be inspected. They must be in a good condition and safe to use. Defective and unsafe tools will not be allowed into the site. Should contractors bring flammable liquids onto the site, the head corporate SHEQ must be notified by security. Contractors will need to be able to identify the type and quantity of the flammable liquid, the length of time that the flammable liquid will be on the site, the area where the liquid will be used and stored, and what the liquid will be used for. It is important to note, contractors who fail to meet any of these requirements will be refused entry into the Mintek premises by security. If all requirements are met, security will notify the contractor's Mintek host and allow the contractor to enter the premises. Work permits will be issued by persons responsible for the contractor's services according to the Mintek permit procedure. All persons working at Mintek are required to wear the relevant personal protective equipment when working on the plant. Different work situations will require different items of equipment. Examples of PPE items include safety masks, safety glasses, lab coats, safety aprons, safety gloves, earplugs, and safety boots. The wearing of PPE is a mandatory responsibility. Safe work practices counter health and safety risks. Conducting work in a responsible manner is key to preventing accidents. Contractors must be familiar with and adhere to the rules and regulations. Rules are in place to accommodate various work situations. These work situations include work at heights, work with chemicals and gases, work with hot media, working in confined spaces, work in noisy areas, and work with motorized equipment. Contractors must have proof of having passed a medical fitness exam in accordance with the work they are to perform. A harness hooked up to a solid structure must be worn when working at heights greater than 2.5 meters, or when working at any height should there be safety hazards below. Scaffolding must be declared fit by a certified scaffold inspector before being used. Mobile scaffolds must be stabilized and secured when placed. Use safe access points, isolate the area from any activities, and make prevention for falling objects. When placing a ladder, it must be supported from a firm level and a non-slip surface. Secure the ladder against movement. No ladder shall be used in access areas or within the arch of swinging doors. Work structure should be stable and secured against movement. It should be able to support the weight and movement of people, tools, and other materials. Lifelines must be used where necessary. Provision or safe access and egress from the work platform must be ensured. All workers must be knowledgeable about the nature of the substances that they work with. Material safety data sheets must be made available for all hazardous materials or chemicals brought onto the site. All chemical containers must be labeled. Various gases must be classified as either non-flammable or flammable. Do not reuse any chemical container if you don't know what was inside it previously. Never mix reactants. Hazardous chemicals and gases must be kept in locked containers. Chemical waste must be handled, transported and disposed of at designated areas and in accordance with the relevant laws. Transport of gases and chemicals are to be conducted according to procedure. Work with caution and be well prepared for an emergency at any given time. Hot work procedures must be adhered to. Permits must be obtained and approved in order to perform hot work. No hot work may be performed without the relevant approved permit. Before any work is performed, the area must have been tested and declared safe. The confined space must be purged and supplied with ventilation to provide a safe atmosphere. After work completion in a confined space, check that all persons have vacated and are present. No individual must be working alone in confined spaces. Use the proper hearing protection for noisy circumstances. If hearing impairment is suspected, report the case at once to the supervisor. All employees that are operating motorized equipment, i.e. forklifts, fleet vehicles, etc., will be required to be in the possession of a permit allowing them to operate such equipment. Always consider pedestrians. Pedestrians shall have the right of way at Mintek. Make eye contact with any pedestrians to make sure they are aware of your movements. Forklift drivers must be equipped with the following PPE: safety belts, hard hats. A valid driver's license must always be in the driver's possession. Smoking is only allowed in designated smoking areas. Workers under the influence of alcohol or drugs are not allowed to enter or remain at the workplace. An employee who reports for work under the influence of alcohol or unprescribed drugs, or who consumes alcohol or unprescribed drugs during working hours, is in breach of their contract of employment with the organization. Suspected individuals will need to adhere to a breathalyzer test. Intoxicated individuals will be escorted from the premises immediately. It is everybody's responsibility to detect, control, and avoid emergency situations where possible. This constitutes the practices of emergency preparedness. At the end of the shift, you need to make sure that all areas of work are rendered safe and free from any potential risks or hazards which could start an emergency situation. The area should be checked before leaving work. The following are a few elements that need to be checked. All documents are safely put away. All electrical equipment is switched off and, where possible, the plug removed from the socket. All flammable liquids and chemicals spilt on the floor must be cleaned up and reported. All gas cylinders are safely secured with a chain. All windows and doors are closed and locked. Contractors must familiarize themselves with where fire extinguishers are kept on the premises in case of fire eruption. It is of vital importance to be familiar with emergency procedures and evacuation routes in case an emergency should occur. In the event of an emergency, the following action must be taken immediately. Firstly, do not panic. When an emergency is detected, raise the alarm, dial the emergency line, and vacate the area immediately. Proceed towards your nearest evacuation route. If you are unsure of where to go, follow the people around you. Walk briskly. Do not run. Do not use the lifts. Use the stairs only. The evacuation wardens shall ensure that no person is left behind in their areas of responsibility. All persons to assemble at designated emergency assembly points outside the building. The emergency evacuation officer will take a roll call of all employees, contractors, and visitors. Do not re-enter the building until the all-clear signal has been sounded. It is everybody's responsibility to report all incidents as they are observed. Reportable incidents include, but are not limited to, an injury occurred, a fire erupted, chemical exposure took place, a dangerous substance was spilled, waste pollution occurred, access was barred to emergency equipment or routes, The uncontrolled release of any substance under pressure took place. Machinery ran out of control. If any incident like this occurs, it must be immediately reported to a supervisor, inspector, or the user of the machinery concerned, as the case may be. Whenever any property is brought onto or removed from the premises, authorization documents must be completed. Mintek will not be held responsible for the loss or damage of any personal property. The site rules for persons entering the premises per vehicle are as follows. All vehicles that enter the site must be roadworthy. No intoxicated drivers will be allowed on site. Drivers are to present a valid driver's license upon request. Drivers and passengers must wear safety belts. The number of persons allowed in a specific vehicle will be determined by the number of safety belts in that vehicle. Obey the speed limit of 20 kilometers per hour. Obey all road signs. No cell phones are to be used while driving unless a hands-free kit is used. Additional rules for delivery of vehicles are as follows. Tires and wheel chokes must be in a good condition. Tanks must be free of leaks. It is important that waste be managed vigilantly and strictly according to the rules. Incorrect disposal of hazardous waste could have a detrimental acute or chronic impact on human health as well as the environment. It is the responsibility of the contracting company to ensure that waste is handled, transported, and disposed of in accordance with the relevant laws. In the event of waste being transferred, the contractor must ensure that the person transporting the waste is wearing the correct PPE. It is the responsibility of every person at Mintek to ensure that the environment is clean, safe, and controlled. We ask that all persons concern themselves with conducting the necessary precautions for safeguarding their own health and the health of others at Mintek. Thank you for your time and attention. We have now come to the end of our health and safety video. If you have any questions, please consult our head cooperate SHEQ at X4747, short code 6095. At Mintek, your health, safety, and security is our priority.